And all right, what is going on, Haunt Nation? I'm your host, haunt enthusiast, and reviewer at large of haunted attractions. Try to get to as many as I can. In case this is your first time here, um, try to get to as many as I can during the season without interfering with work, because I do have to work. We, as a whole, on this channel, do not uh, get comped for tickets. We pay for all our tickets, and we do not advertise who we are. I'm not wearing a Haunt Nation jacket or a Haunt Nation t-shirt, no kind of lanyard badges. I'm not walking around with camera rigs. Just a regular Joe like everyone else. Why? Because we want our reviews to be authentic. We want our reviews to be indicative of what everyone's uh, experience is going to be like. Yeah. So, with all that said, this is going to be a review for the Chippewa Lake Slaughterhouse in Chippewa Lake, Ohio. Um, had heard about it. Someone, I can't remember who, so if it's you, put in the comments. Mentioned it, I believe, last season that we should check it out. Didn't have enough time to go last season, so it was top of mind this season. Happened to be going out into that area, so uh, made it a priority. Had a couple of places I was thinking of going. That just happened to be the place that I fell on. Let's say went there, as early as I could get there. Bought tickets online. They do have a thing that says tickets have to be bought online, although I saw people at the box office doing what appeared to be buying tickets. So, sue me. They will not let you in. The park, let's start with this. They have a parking lot, right? The parking lot is free, but the parking lot is not huge. It's not tiny, but it's not huge. So there was a woman outside, a parking attendant, with a sign that said, "What time are your tickets?" And I saw her turn a car away. So I'm going to guess that if you get there way early for your ticket time, they are going to turn you away until a closer time to your ticket time, just because they have limited space in their parking lot. Now, it isn't really a haunt park or anything like that. It seems to be just a haunted attraction. I did not notice, and again, correct me if I need correcting, I didn't notice any fire pits or anywhere to hang out or anything like that. I don't recall seeing any food concessions either while I was there. So, it's kind of a go there, do your thing, and go home. That said, um, really enjoyable. I will tell you, the price. Fuck, I believe it was somewhere around $40 for the ticket. Not too expensive. They do have a touch option, which some haunts seem to be straying away from. Others embrace. This one's embracing it. The caveat is that the touch option cost extra. I believe it was in the $7 to $10 extra range. So maybe the haunt was $30 or so, and then the touch option was a few extra dollars. Either way, tickets weren't overly expensive. It was under $50 with the touch option. And I mean, if you can handle it and you like that kind of thing, I would say 100% go for it. They gave me a glow necklace to signify that I was a patron willing to be touched, and sent me on my way. So, you kind of walk up a path. There are things on the way to signify where you're going. The ticket booth is just a metal shack type ticket booth, very nondescript. I did see people getting VIP tickets for whatever reason, but it wasn't super busy. Now, mind you, this is the middle of October, so middle of October, I went on a Friday night. It wasn't super busy. I got there about 8:30, a little later than I wanted to, but I cannot control traffic on I-80, unfortunately, because that'd be pretty cool if I could do that. If I had disintegrators in my car, just get rid of. Anyway, I digress. So Yeah, I bought my tickets online. I don't believe I found any discounts. I wasn't really looking. Credit card online. They do have obviously VIP and things of that nature, which cost extra if that's for you. But the parking was free, so happy about that. Do not like to have especially don't like to get there and then be surprised by a parking fee of 3, 5, 2, whatever, however many dollars. Um, it is a basically a standalone haunt. Um, the haunt itself is themed around a slaughterhouse, right? The Carver family, Carver with a K family slaughterhouse. And one of the things I really enjoyed about this haunt was that the whole haunt was one theme. It was one solid theme all the way through. You go into it's done in a massive building that I can only assume actually was a slaughterhouse. There, the entrance, the lines, the queue line that they use is actually like the pens that animals would go through. There is a walkway on top the where the characters, like what we would call line creeps normally, where they can walk around. And there was one person creeping the line in and around the top. But it is a standalone house with one theme, and it seems like it's themed almost more towards the 1950s. So if you play video games, it had a very Rapture type feel, like Bioshock Rapture type feel to it. There was music and announcements over a loudspeaker overhead that had to do with the haunt. There were televisions. Forgive me if I'm shaking a little. It is a little chilly out. The fall weather has finally gotten here. There were, announcements. There were things on TV that pertained to the haunt and to other parts of the haunt, which I'll get to later. The building itself is just a big, old building, and it was definitely they advertised movie quality sets, and I will definitely say that yes, they had what I would consider movie quality sets. I really do believe you could get a camera crew in there and film some kind of horror movie in that place, pretty much as is, with very little change to be done. Obviously you'd have to cover up like exit signs and things of that nature, but yeah, it does seem like a film ready environment. There were no animatronics that I noticed. There could have been, but I really don't recall any animatronics in the haunt. It was all human actors interspersed with like standees. And a lot of the actors are costumed just like the standees. So you'll walk past some of them and then they will jump out at you, which was really cool. A little reminiscent of Bane to me, actually. Although it is more well lit. So it is not very claustrophobic. It isn't very tight spaces. There are a lot of very big open spaces. I was alone and I got to walk through by myself. They had a decent amount of lead time. I'd say 30 seconds to a minute between groups. And despite that, I wound up running into people, but that is not the haunt's fault. That is definitely the people. I believe it was actually the people that bought the VIPs were, I mean, they must have been crawling, because I ran into the people in front of me who ran into that group, and the people in front of me were trying to wait. Subsequently, I was trying to wait, but then the group behind me was catching up, so now we all couldn't wait, and we all wound up together. So that does diminish the experience a little bit, but again, not the haunt's fault. Not the haunt's fault. They did not have any choke points to speak of, although some of the actors did do more to engage at certain points, which I believe were to slow down. So yeah, the whole thing is themed around this slaughterhouse and this family who, slaughter and kill people that come to the slaughterhouse. The costuming was spot on. The costuming was great. Masks appeared to be more like silicone type masks. All the costumes were adequate, and they were costumed, like I said, like a lot of the standees. Now, when I say no animatronics, I mean no animatronic like things popping out, monsters or zombies or pigs, everything. There were some things that would, like fall over or fall down, which were on timing mechanisms or, infrared mechanisms, but nothing that was, like you would see at a typical haunt. Yeah. But the costumes were all cool. I didn't notice any teeth or contacts, but like I said, a lot of silicone masks. The costumes were all very appropriate for the setting. Everything fit, and it just had that more immersive feel to it because of it. The actors were all into it. Everybody was doing what they could to make the haunt as good as they could make it. And when I tell you it was hands on, because of the glow necklace I was wearing, excuse me, oh, it was definitely hands on. I was grabbed, I was pushed. One of the actors, big dude, gave me a big old bear hug, so I gave him a big hug back. You got to share the love. But yeah, they were all into it. All the electronics seemed to be working, and they all seemed to be queuing at appropriate times, which is cool. I can't tell you about changes because I'd never been there before, but the place is cool. So it's mostly in this big warehouse. Like I said, a lot of open spaces. Not really any claustrophobic spaces. But a lot of open spaces. The open spaces are used well to present the idea and to have room for the other props and the actors to blend in with the props. Like I said earlier, they didn't have anything outside like hatchets or anything, so there's really nothing that you could add on, as far as I could see, to do there after the haunt. But at some point you do leave the slaughterhouse, and then you go through a woods walk, which I will not ruin either, but the woods walk was also very cool, stuck to the theme. Little graveyard. There's other things there that I will tell you. Like I said, everything that's on the loudspeakers and on the TVs alludes to things that are actually in this haunt. So there was some TV programming, some news programming, talking about certain things that I did encounter during the woods walk, which I thought was very cool. And I was like, wow, this is really nice, really cool. At the end, bathrooms, let's go to bathrooms first. Bathrooms just looked like they had a couple porta potties, not even a ton of them, just a few porta potties. I think near the beginning of the haunt, and not really anywhere else. But again, it's not multiple haunts, it's not a haunt park. It's the slaughterhouse, out of the slaughterhouse through the woods walk, and then into the parking lot because it's time to go home. They do have merch. They did have a lot of merch. T-shirts, hoodies. I think they might have had beanies. They definitely had stickers. They had a good amount of merch and some cool looking merch. I didn't buy anything. But there were a couple things that I definitely would have purchased had I been looking to buy, like a hoodie or a t-shirt. But they did have merch. The merch was for sale. The people at the merch booth, or the woman that was at the merch booth, was really nice. Greeting everybody, thanking everybody for coming out, hoping they had a good time and all that. So it was really nice. It was a real homey feeling. Gives you that vibe that this is like a family run kind of operation, and they were really into it and they enjoyed it. What did I like? Well, like I said, my favorite thing about this haunt, they had some cool characters, don't get me wrong. They had some really cool characters, and everybody was appropriately costumed, really well done. The thing I liked the most, though, is that it was a singular theme. I wasn't walking through, into a slaughterhouse, into a jungle, and then into a crypt, or it was just one continuous theme throughout. And I think there were a lot of haunts that could learn something from this, because there's something to be said about one theme being just incredible and more immersive. What didn't I like? I would say that they could probably use some animatronics. And I would say if they were going to use animatronics, I would use, things that are appropriate, like the giant pigs, or like a conveyor belt, which isn't really an animatronic, but like conveyor belts with body parts going around, things that I'm sure some of you, if you're haunt enthusiasts, have seen at other places. But that's really the smallest of gripes. Also, I would probably try to use their space a little bit better, because they do have a lot of big open areas, which at certain parts of the haunt were phenomenal. It's hard to tell you really cool things without ruining it, but there was one scene that, even though the people behind me had caught up because they were running through the haunt, the wide open space gave me the biggest laugh of the evening, because even though they had everywhere to go, they had nowhere to go, and I'll leave it at that. And they were running for the hills. So that's what I would change, really, is just a use of the wide open space. I'd make some more tight spaces, some more tight corridors, some more claustrophobia, maybe. It is a very big space, and it's a long haunt, so it's definitely worth money. Probably took me a good 30 plus minutes to walk through it, and I don't walk fast. But that said, if they used smaller spaces and controlled the movement through narrow, wow, look at me learning to speak, narrower spaces, they could have made the haunt even longer, but that doesn't mean I didn't like anything. I just think that is a room for potential improvement. That's pretty much what I would change with that haunt. Like, the only thing I could really think of to change is just narrower pathways, maybe some choke points, but again, it's really hard to control people once they get inside. It's hard to make them move along, make them move faster, make them slow down. Some of them just keep running, and some of them just won't move. So, but other than that, I mean, the place was really, really a phenomenal haunt, and a really good start to my weekend, and a really great start to the evening. It's really hard to explain, like the accolades I would give this place. Again, I can't say, if it's stagnant, if it changes, if it doesn't change. I've only been there the one time, but I can tell you that based on that one time, I will definitely go back. That's how good it was of a haunt. I put it right up there with other haunts like the Dent Schoolhouse that always get a top rating, except for when they mismanage their line. I'm gonna have to go and say that the Chippewa Lake Slaughterhouse in Chippewa Lake, Ohio, in my opinion, rates a 9.5 for this season. It was that good. If you get a chance to go, you still have a couple weeks left in the season. Definitely go, and if you get there early enough, you can definitely get 2 haunts done in the same night, which leads me up to my next review, which is going to be for Blood Prison in Mansfield, Ohio. But that's not on this video. That's the next video. And until then, I'm Ant. This haunt got a 9.5 because it was fucking amazing. And I will talk to you on the next one. See ya.